Mr. Arsenal podcast, Sheffield United review. I'm joined by the African Gooner. How you doing, guy?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. James will be coming on. He's just sorting himself out. He'll be on soon, guys. Where do we start from yesterday? The penalty that wasn't given a penalty, and then just same old rubbish that comebacks and almost were not clinical enough. Basically, it's come back and bit us again for the second week in a row. And yet again, VAR isn't our friend, guys. So, um, what are your thoughts on the game yesterday?
As I discussed with you right before we went live, I think yesterday for me, what was really important to see is that in the last 4 or 5 weeks, we have seen improvement. There's no denial. There's been a great improvement at Arsenal. The only problem for me is that, unfortunately, incremental improvements at this stage, in the season, we've just done so poorly that even a draw is not good enough. I think that we're depending a lot on our youngsters at the moment, like Saka and Martinelli, who had a phenomenal game. And it seems that our more experienced players aren't able to deliver. Like I would say, Mesut Ozil yesterday didn't have a great game. Overall, as I told you, Ryan, when Arsenal have a 1-0 lead, we know that it's never enough. We never do things easily. So eventually, we know we're gonna succumb to a goal at the end, whether it's a 90th minute winner or draw or whatever the case may be. So things are looking positive. I really think the board need to back Arteta with perhaps whether it's a loan signing, but we need a defender and a midfielder. I mean, I feel like if we don't invest right now, we're gonna struggle throughout the rest of this half of the season, and we might not even get Europa, to be honest.
Yeah, and I was saying this on a preview on what was it Friday night. That yeah, if he doesn't get backed, everything that Josh said in the summer is going to be proven to be a lie, and then the fans will eventually, finally, wake up and see all the Cronkies for what they really are. And this, and what make I think what's aggravating fans as well is after the window in the summer, Josh in another interview publicly come out and said we're already planning for the winter. We're going to be proactive in the winter as well. Obviously not foreseen. Obviously, Emery's going to be sacked, but still. And yet we're 18, 19 days into the window, and nothing's been done. And
Yeah.
we're in desperate need of centre backs because now Chambers is out for the rest of the season. We need another midfielder to be part of the pairing to give the likes of Jacques and Torreira a breather as well, not just because playing them two non-stop,
Yeah.
it's going to be nagging for them. And no disrespect, I like Ganduzi, but for some reason, when he's when he's been played with Xhaka or Torreira, the balance there's no balance there. It just doesn't fit. There's something that's not right, and I don't blame him because he is a young player.
Yep.
And that's, like you said, we do need a central midfielder to come in that's experienced that will fill that gap and provide competition and balance at the same time when needed. And as I said, centre backs, we need centre backs. We've needed them for years, and we're going by wingers apparently or strikers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. For me, Ryan, I think my question is why sell Mustafi? Why sell Mavropanos? Right, when we only have Mustafi as cover, what happens if
yeah,
for example, we get 5 yellow cards, David Luiz or Socrates are out, and we have another injury? We're basically screwed.
oh
We
yeah,
have no cover. We already have two makeshift, a left back, right back. I mean, this is classic Arsenal, isn't it?
oh yeah, just a bit. And as you said, one of if either one of Louise, Socrates, or Mustafa gets injured, we're then stuck with two centre backs, and then even that's not enough normally. But with
It's yeah, you're right. It's not enough normally, but it's good enough for a team in 10th.
yeah, apparently so. But what centre backs would you go out for? Would you go Premier League experience, or would you go abroad? Would you
Yeah.
go this guy from Leipzig?
Yeah, so for me, I think honestly, in the next 10 years, we need to be looking at the top end of defenders. Yes, I'd like to see a defender that's obviously proven in the Premier League, but if you get Upamecano or Koulibaly who are proven in the Champions League at the world elite stage, then I'd go for them. The only issue is we know Arsenal are are pretty cheap. We're never going to get Upamecano. I mean, I'm hearing obviously that his fee is going to be reduced from I think 19 million pounds to 60 million in the summer. But I mean, are we really going to spend 70 million to get Upamecano and Koulibaly? For me, also, out of question. Now Boateng, I don't know. I'd take him on loan, to be honest. I mean, again, we just discussed that we have no backup, so I'd take him as a backup. I know he's not the best, but it's better than nothing for me.
I'll take him on a what's it 6 month loan until the end of the
6 month
season.
loan, yeah.
Play it, and then play it by ear. And if with an option to buy if we wanted to, but then doesn't his contract run out this season? So it won't cost us anything anyway. If we were
Yeah,
to sign him long up on the summer, but do a 6 month loan, play it by that 6 months, like we did with Dennis Suarez last year, and just go from there. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it ain't no skin off our nose in that sense. We can then go. We can then go a whole summer then, hoping not a whole summer they spend doing it, but then to go out and get an actual centre back because you can't because people say we've got Saliba coming in next season. We can't put everything on a 19-year-old centre back who hasn't played Premier League football. That's a hell
yeah.
of a lot to ask for. We do need an actual
Well,
somewhat
the
seasoned
thing
pro.
is for me, Ryan, if you're a top class player, it doesn't matter what position you play, right? I mean, you look at like De Bruyne, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva. You look at any top class player, right? They come to the Premier League. If you're top class, you're top class. I mean, I know it might take a little bit of adjusting, but quality is quality, right? It'll always outshine working hard and other things. For me, at least, that's what I feel.
Yeah, so I don't doubt Saliba's ability. I'm just saying because he's so young, that's a hell of a lot of pressure to put on a young player
Oh yeah, for sure.
coming to a whole new league
Sure.
and everything. And you know what? And plus with our fan base, if anything goes wrong, they're straight on his back, and I'm just instead of going on
And
the
I think
full.
that's the club's fault. That's the club's fault, right? Because
Yeah,
we don't really have anyone else to put our faith in except for a new French kid who's coming, who's a prospective, youngster.
yeah. And just touching on loans, obviously Dennis Ceballos, he since Arteta's come in, he's had an injury, but he's now back, but he's still not being used. Do you read into that
Yeah.
as in he's not part of Arteta's plans going forward from next season, so he's just literally biding time now?
So my take on Ceballos is, well, I was really excited when he came. I watched obviously a lot of YouTube videos to see kind of what a player he was because honestly I didn't really know much about him before that. Obviously, I think he's more of an attacking midfielder than a defensive midfielder. I think under Emery, there was no chance that he was going to succeed or do well because in general all our players just declined massively. And it seems to me that we've just had a like a red card with Aubameyang, so we had to make a change. Defenders getting injured. So Ceballos really hasn't really had any chance of coming in. I do think Arteta will use him, but I think we are not going to. I hope we don't buy him. He's not worth 30 million at all, unfortunately.
I mean, it's a shame it hasn't because we first came in and he obviously started at Arsenal. It looked promising, and then obviously
He
things
did.
happened. His form dipped, and he's got injured. It just hasn't gone for him now in the latter stages of this season. It's a shame because there's a quality player there. It's just it hasn't worked out.
Yeah. If you
Um,
think about it, what is it? It's been what 3, 4, 5 months that he's been with Arsenal. He hasn't even had
yeah,
like 3 games in a row at all.
mm,
So it's tough.
yeah, and it doesn't help with the merry-go-round of who's the manager for this week at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Since then we got sacked, and then obviously Lundberg was put in interim charge, and basically I don't think he was. I think he was told straight from the off, and the players were told he wasn't part of their plans, as in he weren't part of the shortlist in their eyes to be full term. So the players didn't really pick themselves up for him, which again annoys me with the players because their job is to turn up on a match day
Mm.
and put a performance in, and they weren't doing it under Verdi. Let's be honest, and
Yeah,
they
just
let
a
him.
quick question from me. Do you think Xhaka, Ceballos, and Ozil would be a good combination? I know we discussed Guendouzi and Xhaka doesn't work. Obviously, obviously Guendouzi is a young prospective player. I'd like to see him with Ceballos. We haven't seen that either. But honestly, for me, I think maybe Torreira and him, or maybe even seeing Xhaka and Ceballos and Ozil. I want to see how that works out.
I'd like to think them sort of things. I think it might them sort of um, combinations you'll probably test out against Bournemouth at the weekend. Which I don't mind because it's a cup game.
Yeah.
You can take them sort of risks whilst resting certain players because obviously got a midweek game, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
intense December we've had. And we're having a nice intense derby on Tuesday. Yay!
Well, we won't revenge, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, James is here, so one sec.
No
Hey,
stress.
fellas, how are you both?
All right, James, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you both, fellas? Everyone okay?
Yeah. Hi, James.
Good,
Yeah,
good. Nice to speak to you again.
Yeah, James, we were just touching on our thoughts on yesterday's game, and obviously you was there as well. What did you make of the game itself from the Arsenal perspective, as a neutral when it comes to Sheffield United?
Well, I'll answer the second part first if I can.
Yeah.
Having spoken to players that have played under Chris Wilder, the likes of Richard Stearman and Sam Deering, they told me about his fantastic motivational skills and tactical nous, with overlapping, defenders even at championship level. And you saw with the substitutions yesterday, every sub that Chris Wilder made had that little bit more impact and going on to helping to get something out of the game. I liken it to a boxer that was chipping away at the chest of an opponent to eventually knock him down. They brought on Billy Sharp, they brought on Callum Robinson, and also Mohamed Besic, and they just didn't give up. They just did not give up. And I noticed in the first half in particular, they started really brightly. They was on top of us for the first 10 minutes. And just doing the simple things really, really well. Just, even the likes of Jack O'Connell and George Baldock. George Baldock used to play for MK Dons. And the player that scored the equaliser, John Fleck, he was a free transfer from Coventry City. And he came through the youth academy at Rangers. And so it just goes to show about identifying players. And I thought that when we went 1-0 up, that we seemed to think that would be enough. But obviously that's not the case, especially with a team that's only lost away from home twice in a calendar year at Championship and Premier League level. And even those two defeats were Manchester City away, and Liverpool away. And, I made no secret of the fact that, when Arsenal dispensed of Unai Emery, that I wanted Chris Wilder. And I was in the minority. Some people wanted to cart me off to the funny farm. But I had my reasons. I will support every manager, every Arsenal manager, like I've always done in more than 30 years of supporting the club. But I think you saw yesterday the difference between a manager who's gone all the way down and learnt his trade from his days at Alfreton Town all the way now to Sheffield United, and Arteta, who's only been managing for a month. Naturally, Arteta needs time, and Arsenal fans will hopefully give him that. But being a number two is completely different to being a number one. I mean, when you look at the greatest managers in English football, just to give an example, Brian Clough went to Hartlepool. Bill Shankly was at Huddersfield. This is just to give an example to cut your teeth and learn your trade, because it's quite simply not the case of picking 16 names on a team sheet and that be that. And having spoken to managers like Graham Potter and Danny Cowley, I remember what Danny Cowley said to me when I interviewed him when he was Lincoln manager. And he said, that continuity is such a rare thing in football, and that the longer you stay with a club, you know exactly what you need in terms of personnel, in terms of attitude and personality. And you look at Liverpool and the position they're in today, where they are on like a procession towards a title, where they look as if they're going to go unbeaten. If you rewind 4 years ago, fellas, they were mid-table like we are now, and we were top. And it just goes to show how quickly things can change in football. But the reason they're in the position they are is because they stood by their manager, and everybody at that club, from board to players to fans to everybody, is behind Jurgen Klopp. And even in the difficult days, when they had some very poor results, they stood by him, and you see what that can do. And we've got to do the same now with Arteta. I heard some rumblings on like Match of the Day, which I didn't watch last night. I was on an early flight back this morning, and about rumblings of discontent. This has only been 6 games. We've got to give him time. We should have given Emery more time, but that's just my personal opinion. But we've got to learn from our mistakes as a club and also as a fan base, and give Arteta the time he needs in this case as well.
Just touching on because you mentioned Arteta there. Do you think this is the board now, even though he's only just coming into the club as our new head coach, they need to back him this transfer window, even if it's a couple signings, just to stop gap until the end of the season, and then go again for a whole new rebuild in the summer?
Possibly, but it's about identifying players, Ryan.
Mm.
It really is. I mean, I follow a lot of football fans and Arsenal fans on Twitter, and transfers are a very complicated thing. It's not simply a case of it's not Championship Manager. You're dealing with human beings who have maybe children at a certain school, who have no wish to move to a different country, who have maybe commitments that they don't want to give up. And that's why you see a lot more movement in the summer than what you do in January. And I think one or two additions, but it's about identifying the players. And one thing I really hope that Arsenal can do in future is start to look at the character of a player. Don't look at the name. Look at the character of a player. Look at the previous of a player. Where has he been before? Where has he played before? What kind of impression has he left at those clubs? And look at his injury record as well. I mean, Kieran Tierney is still out. We paid an awful lot of money for Kieran Tierney. And as good a player as he is, there was always, as much as I understood, there was always rumours about his injury records. So we've got to tweak things like that. And you look at Sheffield United with the likes of John Fleck was a free transfer, as I say. George Baldock was playing at MK Dons. And the likes of Billy Sharp, who's had experience, but they all believe in their manager because he's just a tremendous manager. I mean, I watched his post-match interview, and it's just hell bent on doing everything in your power to get the best of the club, which every manager wants, but to sound it out in a language that everybody can understand, that fans can understand as well, is very impressive indeed.
Yeah, just as you said about recruitment, I think back to recruitment to George Graham era, to David Seaman from QPR, Winterburn from Wimbledon, Steve Baldy Dixon from Stoke. I think that's what we've got to go back to within the country itself.
Yeah.
We've seen Liverpool do it. Look,
yeah.
I know he's not English players, but Wijnaldum, Mane, all came from lower ranked clubs, with all due respect.
Robertson as well.
Robertson as well from Hull, the relegated Hull. And look where they are now. Arguably one of the best fullback partnerships in the country. Part of the best forward three, and part of the best midfield in the country, and they're literally on the verge of breaking our record, unbeaten record, but also going in season unbeaten as well at the same time.
Yeah. But I think those signings were also deliberate, Ryan. I mean, I've made no secret of the fact how highly I rate the likes of Todd Cantwell and James Ward-Prowse, and I've been scoffed at. People have said, "Oh, they're not good enough for Arsenal." They are, and obviously with Grealish being the talisman for Aston Villa, it's not about the names. I mean, I'm sure we'll speak about players together a little bit later in the pod, but I saw a stat came by yesterday that I think Ozil has created, one chance in 17 games as an attacking midfielder. That's just, I couldn't believe it when I read that. And there's far too much emphasis on him as a reputation in terms of his wage as well. I mean, we spoke about on the pod before, Ryan, about the explanation as to why Mesut Ozil got his contract. And it was stated by Arsene Wenger that it will cost us more to replace him, which is utter rubbish.
Yeah.
But the official line from the club was it would cost us more to replace him, but yet we are playing a player who is never, when we need him, he's never there. No. I mean, if I think of what Mesut Ozil's done for Arsenal, I can only think of Ludogorets away. And with all due respect, Ludogorets are not a Champions League team. I mean, they're a Europa League team now. And also the game against Leicester. But he's been with us for how many years? What I mean is in terms of performance, where we can single him out and say that he won us that game, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see, I don't think we'll get to see many more of those performances before his contract's up.
Do you think with that in mind, the club might cash in on him in the summer? Then
I hope so.
Because the mindset of Arteta's talking, he wants people to literally give everything, and as you just stated there, Özil still isn't doing that. Then he's not doing his job. I think on the front of the program yesterday, Ed Özil, he's saying, "I'm a creative player. I need time and space." And this is the Premier League. You don't.
Yeah, exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. A great point, Ryan. I think that's a great point.
But I think you guys are missing a point. I do agree with both of you, by the way. I think for me, in the last 2 years, I've given up on Ozil because he's broken my heart that many times. But I think we do have to admit in the last 3-4 weeks, he has picked up his socks. He's still not good enough. I mean, yesterday there were a couple of passes that he just misplaced that could have put us in really good positions, which usually he gets those off. But I think, he's heading balls, he's sprinting. I mean, he's losing balls and tracking back and getting it back. Those are things that we haven't seen under Emery. And also we didn't see at the end of Wenger's reign for me. But yeah, I agree. Who's going to pay 350K for a world-class playmaker who has the same amount of assists as Alisson, Liverpool's goalkeeper, which is the stat I just saw on Twitter, which baffled me, right? So yeah. I think for me, honestly, get rid of him. I think the MLS is the perfect place for him. I mean, you look at Zlatan, look at Rooney, look at David Villa. There's so many examples of these really good players. He won't have to do the running. He won't have to do the defending. He'll look like a world-class player in the MLS. It suits him. And marketing-wise, it's the US, so his marketing team will love it.
Oh, definitely. Plus, because part of his marketing team is Adidas, so that'll go
yeah.
well as well. Let's go to the big jump to the big talking point as well. VAR yesterday. James, where was you sitting? Do you think it was a penalty?
I was in the clock end, so it was the other end. So I didn't see it. I saw him go down, and then you're looking at the then you're waiting for the replay, and you see a potential penalty decision. And it's the second time a match this season I've had to deal with waiting for VAR on the big screen, like with Carrot Road back in December.
Yeah.
And as I say, it was the other end to where I was sitting, so I didn't see it. But I've since seen the replays, and some you get, some you don't. But they, put it this way: referees have been encouraged to go and view the monitor on the side of the pitch. Maybe it would have been a good example or a good opportunity for him to do that, to double check that it was the right decision. But one goal is never enough, as they say, and unfortunately, we couldn't kill Sheffield United off.
No, and this is what I was talking about on Friday in my preview. With VAR, I just want fairness throughout the whole, consistently fair result in every game, not this, depending on who the referee is, make their own rules up on the spot sort of thing. And also with VAR itself, the person, whatever referee, because it's a referee that's been put into VAR, it's not being consistent. It's like it's whatever the mood they're in, it's whatever rules they want to follow on that day. We've seen today with Liverpool versus United, the Firmino goal and the so-called foul on De Gea. But we've seen that in other games, and it's no foul, continue, keep going, sort of thing. It's just consistency, and it does do my head in, and it's just like, oh, we'll give you this carrot from the FA's like, we'll give you this carrot. We've now told them the referees should not have to be told to go and halfway through a season to go and use a TV screen in the side of the pitch. It's been there all season, day one. Just use it. Use own initiative. We've seen it in the World Cup from the last World Cup for the men, and then the women last year, where the referees use their initiative. They have a conversation, then they have a tap back and forth, and then he goes and checks it himself or herself, and then they're still making the core decision if they've got it right or not. But Premier League, we've put this system in place, and it's like, nope, we won't use it. We'll just make it up our own way. I mean, we see it used in the MLS, and they go from day one. They're always going over to the screen. I don't get why our referees are so stubborn not to do it. And Craig Pawson, for example, the referees aren't going off. There's rules in place, and literally, but it's because there's so many different rules for so many different bloody things. The referees are getting confused, and they're just making up as they go along. Sort of, you're getting that inconsistency. I think in the summer, when it comes to the FA and the referees, they need to come together, set simple rules in place where everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet, and you won't have this controversy.
Let's hope they will do that. Let's hope they'll recognise that it's been a bit of a messy debut season for VAR, and I think it's here to stay. So, for it to be streamlined and to help people, I think that will be something that they can do in the summer, and hopefully it can be improved.
Yeah. What were you got any more?
Yeah, I was gonna add my thoughts. For me, 100% penalty. I mean, James, you just mentioned sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Wasn't the whole point of VAR so that we don't have that situation, that it's consistent? Like if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's offside, it's offside. And for me, I think Pepe was kind of looking for it. But I think as a striker or attacking player, I mean, once you push the ball and you get tackled or you get tripped by one player and then you get sandwiched by the other one who you just dribbled, I mean, that's a definite penalty for me. I think the only reason it wasn't given is because he probably wasn't going to get the ball, or he was kind of looking for it. But I mean, it was a foul, right? I mean, if that's outside the box, it's given as a foul. So I don't see how that's not a penalty. And Willian was given a penalty, I think, last week by VAR for something that was just so similar. I just don't think VAR likes Arsenal.
We took a lot of points off of this season, VAR.
Yeah, I think that's right. 11 now? 11.
I
11.
I thought 7.
Crystal Palace.
No.
After yesterday, he's gone up to 11. Yeah, he's got Crystal Palace at the home game where Chambers fouled someone, even though he was the one that got fouled. So Socrates' goal got taken off, even though, yeah. Then obviously yesterday, and then the week, what was it? And there's a few other games in between. It's just absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, don't forget against, I think, was it Watford when we took a goal kick and I think one of their players was actually in our box and I didn't check it, right? So
yeah, apparently, yeah, because the rules are apparently because it's a goal kick, they can't get involved, even though they've put a rule in place that it's been broken for that situation, which at the time I found bizarre. It absolutely done my head in. I was like, but either way, we put ourselves in that position in the first place. As I said back then, we should never in that position where we had that pressure at 2-0. It should have been just kick the ball long. Stop playing it from the back. We've got that pressure, ease the pressure, kick it long. But no. And touching on that, Leno, James, what were your overall thoughts about him yesterday? Because again, distribution-wise, he was very concerning me because he's very lackluster, taking his time, and it gave a ball away a couple of times as well.
I thought his reaction at the end of the game was telling. I was in the clock end, and he looked visibly disappointed when that final whistle went. And especially second half, there was passes that were available to Maitland-Niles or a better pass, and he chose to switch it. But I think he's very much a confidence player. I mean, I know of him from his time at Bayer Leverkusen, and when his confidence is up, it's really up, and when his confidence is a bit on the wane, I think he's very much a confidence player, and he is our number one now, and I hope he realises that. I mean, I think last season there were times, like for example, the Europa League final, where I got him instead of Cech, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's times last season where he felt a little bit bypassed, but but you can't remember, earlier on in the season away at Manchester United where he pulled off a tremendous save, and the clanger that he dropped at Chelsea, for example. I think it's very mixed. I think maybe he's coming to terms with being a Premier League number one for the first time this season, and maybe at sometimes that's a little bit overwhelming for him.
I think what goes in his favour is because he's so young. Someone like Arteta and his team can sort of coach him now, like one-on-one, sort of coach that out of him, so he doesn't feel that pressure, so to speak. And and he starts improving because he's got the potential. Let's be honest, he is a good goalkeeper. He's
Mm.
the amount of points he's saved us this season alone. And as you said, I agree with you. That I would have picked Leno over Czech just because, but for whatever reason, sentiment got in the way of things, and we all know what happened there. What are your thoughts on Leno from yesterday and his distribution more so? Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, internet's breaking up a little bit. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying for me, I think you're right, Bern Leno, in terms of distribution. I think that's something I'm worried about. I think knowing that obviously Lacazette is the only one who can get headers when Aubameyang plays up front, he doesn't seem to have the football intelligence to go out wide or try different avenues. But in terms of shot stopping, I mean, I think he's the second highest keeper in terms of shot stopping this season. So yeah, he saved our butt many times. But like James just mentioned, I mean that mistake against Chelsea was costly. But I mean, overall, I mean, he's young. So in the next 5-10 years, I don't think we need another goalkeeper. I don't know if you guys remember, about 5 years ago, we were desperate for a keeper. I mean, even when we got Peter Cech, I mean, that wasn't really enough for me. So I think we're solid in that position, and now we just look into midfield and center backs.
Mm. I think our number 2 as well, Emiliano Martinez, when he's called upon, he's always played really well. And so I think goalkeeping-wise, we're covered, as as mentioned. And, that's an area where we're okay. So we can be pleased about that. So, looking forward to other positions. And, again, identifying players, looking at the age, looking at the character and the availability and the length of contract as well, because if you think of the length of contract we've offered to the likes of Mustafi and Xhaka, for example, and players that have struggled, you're struggling to move them on most times because of length of contract and wages. So, it's about streamlining things and just taking that little bit of time beforehand before crossing the I's and crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
I mean, James, at this moment in time, obviously in the January transfer window, is there anyone out there that the club can go out and get now, even if it's for a loan for 6 months and with an option to buy or what have you? Is there anyone out there you want us to bring in?
Well, I would like, for example, Todd Cantwell, but I don't think he's going to leave Norwich, especially now. I think we'll be more busier in the summer, but it's about identifying players. It's Gabriel Martinelli cost us £6 million, and it's a real snip.
Yeah.
So we've once again dipped our toe in the South American market, and I'll give you an example of Tagliafico here in the Netherlands. He was signed, and Ajax ventured into the South American market, and they signed a really good player with a tremendous temperament. Together with eventually following on, Lisandro Martinez also came. And we could look again into South America. There's no reason why we can't look into a different market. You look at the likes of Gilberto, who was signed many years ago, who was a tremendous player. Martinelli will go on to become an excellent player as well. And it's not just about Europe. There's South America. There's Africa. So we've got to cast the net wide and take a bit of a chance, but always study the prospective player and look at about what's gone before. And I think if we can have a mix of maybe South American talent and British players that have played in the Premier League before, we could forge something very impressive for the future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can. Let's before we move on to Tuesday night's game. Are you at all concerned slightly with Lacazette's form in terms of goal scoring?
Yes. Yeah, I think he's suffering. I think he's suffering from a crisis of confidence. I watched him play yesterday, and all I saw him do, Ryan, was back into defenders and try to give the ball through, and in some cases passing sideways and backwards. But yet he's the vocal point, so he's trying to do what he can. He's trying hard, but the criticism that Deschamps received, picking Giroud over him for the French national team. Deschamps is a very smart cookie, and I think Lacazette's confidence is waning at the minute, and I think he needs a few goals. He needs a goal or two to kind of hopefully get that confidence up. I mean, even if we get a penalty in the coming games, let him take it to get that confidence back up again. Because I think if he scores a goal again, I think we might see him go on, hopefully, a little bit of a run.
Which at the moment with Aubameyang's obviously suspension, we do need that because we're going to miss him now. We've obviously missed him yesterday. We've got to miss him on Tuesday and on the following Monday for the Bournemouth game.
Yep.
So we do need Lacazette to pick up a bit of form now and knock a few goals in. Because as we saw yesterday, even though Martinelli, who we both raved throughout the season, you can't put all that pressure on the kid who's just
certainly not. And it's good that he started yesterday. His goal was a tap in, but he still had to move into the right position. I thought before we move on to Tuesday, finally, I've got to give credit to Bukayo Saka yesterday. I thought he was our best player. I thought he was tremendous. Belied his years and was at the heart of everything positive, and always looking to go forward. I remember I was in a clock end and he was going on a run. And I kept shouting to him, "Go on your own, go on your own. If you want to take a shot, take a shot." And because he was sometimes a bit unsure of a potential pass. But, they say about Arsenal looking for a left back. Well, he could become our left back. There's no need to look elsewhere, is there? If he can play like that in the Premier League against a very good side at a very young age, I think he can grow into the role and go on to become our first choice left back.
And the thing is, we have seen that happen before with Ashley Cole when we came through our academy. He wasn't a left back. Kieran Gibbs as well was a winger, wasn't a left back, and they got moulded into left backs. And obviously, Ashley Cole turned out to be arguably the best left back in the world at the time.
Yeah, but I think in the case of Gibbs and Cole, their loan spells in particular at Crystal Palace and Norwich respectively really helped their development. And with Saka making such an impression, I don't think a loan spell is appropriate for him at this precise moment in time.
Yeah. Gooner, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, for me, I think you guys are right. I think we all know as soon as Lacazette scores, I mean, he's just waiting for that celebration, and it's going to be a good one when it happens. I think with Emery, his style of play has just changed.
We might have lost him. I don't know. Can you hear
think
him,
he might. Yeah, I think he might come back. He went off a little bit, didn't he? And then he came back again shortly afterwards. So maybe that will happen again. Technology, eh?
Yeah.
Where was you sitting yesterday?
I was in North Bank, block 4.
I was in Clock End 24, my guilty pleasure yesterday. For certain games, I always like to sit next to the away fans and have a bit of a laugh. And it was good fun.
I've done it most of the season. What was it? Tottenham, both North London derbies the last couple of years. I've been in that, been literally like a stone's throw from them. So literally feeding off both fan bases then. And it's just, my days. Brave, I can tell you that. Very brave.
Yeah, well, I've gone, let's just say for the clubs that have a bit of a rep, I've always gone North Bank, but for the general occasion and laughing and joking, I'm sometimes Clock End next to the away end. But you try to mix it up. You try to mix it up from time to time. And he's back, yay!
Yeah. If I may continue, I don't know how much of that you guys actually heard.
Literally, first few words, and it just.
Yeah, I'll just repeat it. I was saying I know the three of us and the whole Arsenal fan base is just waiting for Lacazette to score, because when he does score, that celebration is going to be amazing. And I'm just hoping that it's a celebration before Lacazette comes.
Yeah.
You guys can still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I think honestly, I think Mesut Ozil isn't doing enough, and I think that Lacazette has changed. From his playing style at Lyon, where he was just a classic finisher. I think now he's more of a holding. He's kind of like a false nine. He kind of does what Roberto Firmino does for Liverpool, and I think we just don't have enough attacking prowess to really get the best out of Lacazette. And yeah, you're right, James. I mean, his confidence is just down the pipe for me. He just needs one goal. You're right. If we get a penalty, I'm sure he's going to be the one taking it.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Aubameyang did that for Pepe, I think, against Aston Villa back in September. And even if Aubameyang is back, in terms of team interest, I think it would be very wise to do it again. So we'll just have to keep our eye on it.
Just a quick question, if I may. Would you guys get rid of Lacazette if it meant that we got Lamar right now? Like a kind of a switch. Would you do it?
If we got who, sorry?
Lamar from Atletico Madrid, right? They're looking at Lacazette. He was supposed to go there. They want to get rid of Lamar. They're thinking potentially getting Lacazette if they don't get money.
Well, I think it's two different positions for a start, isn't it? And if you think of our strikers, Nketiah, Aubameyang, Martin, I'm not so sure. I mean, I've seen Thomas Lamar play live once in the Super Cup final in Tallinn against Real Madrid, and he looked absolutely fantastic. He looked motivated, he looked vibrant, but of course it was just a Super Cup final, and he played a key role in Atletico's win in Estonia that night. And but I think because of the positions, you don't want to be too light, do you? So just I wouldn't swap him in this particular instance. But if we was to maybe add an attacker in the summer, then possibly yes.
Yeah, I've got to agree with James. I wouldn't particularly want to do that now, and again, it's different positions as well. So the only way I'd want someone like Lamar in is if we actually go out and out buy him or something like that, or whatever they're looking into. But also, people got the thing is, of our fan base, they've got to remember, even though Lamar, he hasn't thrived at Atletico.
Yeah.
Simeone's playing style doesn't really benefit what the key qualities of what Lamar is all about. So you don't really get to see the full package. Just before, if it does happen, our fan base are going to a complete meltdown, and we flopped at Atletico. Atletico is a completely different system we hasn't adapted to. Personally, as I said before, we've got attacking wise at the moment isn't the problem. It's our defence and the central of our midfield. We just the club needs to go out and sort that first. Be it loan spells at the moment, and then in the summer fully go out and sort it. And then once you've got that sorted and get the spine, just get us a decent spine. Is that too much to ask for? We've got Leno.
Torreira.
We've got Torreira.
Yeah, Torreira's been. I think he's been revitalised under Arteta. I mean, it's still very early days for Arteta, but it's great to see a player go back to what we knew he could be. And I think Arteta has had an impact on a few players, but Torreira in particular, I think.
And we're now seeing the Torreira of when he first came to us, that fire in his stomach, that running up and down, literally being the DM that he came and started off at Arsenal, where at near the end of Emery's time he was for some bizarre reason pushing forward, whereas now we're seeing that old Torreira where he's literally staying in the DM role and protecting that back four at all costs. Would you, just because you mentioned Guendouzi before he came on, would you loan him out next in the summer, for example, James, just getting some experience, or do you hold on?
Yes, I would, and I'd also loan out Joe Willock as well, because I think he's fallen in the background a little bit. And one of the best goals we scored this season was in the League Cup away at Liverpool, and that was his goal. Yeah. And I think for Joe Willock and Guendouzi, I mean, Guendouzi at Crystal Palace, for example, he came on and he, was chastising Crystal Palace players and was getting a bit mixed up. And, this is a player who has League One experience with Lorient. And so he has played at the highest level in France, maybe a loan spell to, I don't know, to give an example, like a Marseille or a Bordeaux could help him, or even a Monaco.
Mm.
You know, because obviously he's obviously a talent, and you don't want to lose him so early in his reign. But I think Guendouzi and also Willock, I think loan spells next season could be could be a ticket.
Oh, definitely. African Gooner, is there anyone you'd loan at next in the coming summer? I think he's gone again. Oh, someone else has now joined. Oh, no. I think he's going to. If he comes back, he comes back.
Yeah, I hope so, because he also made some good points as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a team effort. Do you want to move on to Chelsea on Tuesday?
Yeah, definitely. It's a way, obviously, in Chelsea. Chelsea have dropped points yesterday as well. They lost away to Newcastle, a former Arsenal academy player.
Yeah,
taking the points, which I did take some pleasure out of, even though I thought it was right for him to move at the time. I did take complete pleasure out of literally seeing him being. It had to be him of all people to do that. Their form as well. They're not exactly. One second, just coming back. I think they're not exactly in form themselves. They've got one game they'll win, and the next game they'll lose, or they start. Since they went on that little run where everyone thought, well, them and Leicester could cement top four, it's literally everyone else for fifth, sixth, and all that. The pressure's
they
dropped.
were.
The youthful side of it, the youth side of their squad is now showing, and the inexperience, and literally the form's dropped off. Do you think this is a perfect, even though we're not exactly in the best form of our lives, do you think this is a perfect time to play them? And
I don't think it's perfect time.
Do you think we could go there and get 3 points?
No, I think it'll be a draw again. You know, I think we'll nick a draw. I think, and becoming a draw specialists with if it is a draw on Tuesday, that's played 24, won 6, drawn 12.
Yeah.
If it is the case, you know, I don't want to be a prophet of doom and say we're going to lose, but they've been very inconsistent at home. You know, losing to Bournemouth, losing to Southampton. So if we can show a little bit of heart and a bit of desire to believe that we can get something out of the game, then I think we can get something out of the game. I mean, when I was walking back to Arsenal tube station after the game on yesterday, I heard an Arsenal fan said, "Oh, I think we're going to get beaten up by Chelsea." And I said, "No, I don't think we'll get beaten up. I think we'll get a point." But you know, you look at the table now. 23 games gone, won 6, drawn 11, lost 6. It's very, very strange. But we've got to start to get some wins on the board. And I don't know if it will come Tuesday, and then you've got the FA Cup, and then away to Burnley. He's gone again.
Yeah.
No.
I could put him back in.
Oh. And yeah, so I think it'll be a draw. What about you, Ryan?
I don't think we'll lose. And the reasons behind my methods of madness here, guys, is because I look back to a few weeks ago when we played them at the Emirates, that first 30, 35, 40 minutes, when we started with a base and a tempo, and we dictated the game ourselves and took the game to Chelsea, they couldn't handle it. And obviously our fitness levels weren't what they should be, what they were, what they're meant to be, whereas now they should be a lot better. Not completely better, but a lot better than what they were. So I think if we go there and just 1 second, if we go to Stamford Bridge and again we put our foot on the throat of the opponent and dictate the tempo of the game, we can get something out of there. And again, just don't let up. If we get a goal, no matter when it is, don't drop off. Keep going, put the pressure, take your chances, because as we're seeing, we're taking leads in games, and we're not taking our chances. We're dropping points still, and that's something Arteta's again. It's got to work on, because he's been doing. Don't get me wrong, he has done brilliant. If you take a look as a Arsenal fan or neutral and say, look at you walked into the catastrophe that he was given, apparently, according to the media. And look where we were in the sense of we weren't performing, we weren't working as a team. He's got the players working as a team defensively and attackingly. I mean, the fact his knowledge as well. The FA, for example, go back to the FA Cup game against Leeds at the Emirates. He called it. He knew what Bielsa was going to do from the get go. He told the players. The players didn't listen, and because they didn't listen. We saw that first half. We were lucky to be 0-0 at half time. So, and he gave a team talk. I say team talk. He balled them out basically, and all of a sudden, the second half we saw a completely different Arsenal because they then, oh yeah, he's right, and that's the thing. The players have got to take responsibility now, because
absolutely,
because
absolutely,
it seems Arteta's doing everything. He's doing all the background, all the grafting in the sense of researching on the opponent and doing everything he can to set up. Now it's down to them. When they cross that line, it's down to them. No matter if it's home or away, whatever, down to them. You do the job now. He knows what he's talking about now. You go and do it. Execute to your best abilities.
Let's hope so. African Gooner, what's your thoughts on the Chelsea game Tuesday?
Yeah, I was telling Ryan we need a bit of revenge after that 2-1 loss a couple of weeks ago. You know what, guys? Honestly, as an Arsenal fan, I always want to win. Obviously, my heart tells me that we're going to win, but my mind's telling me we'll be winning 1-0 and it's going to be 1-1 at the end. I think for me, I need to see I need to see Ainsley Maitland-Niles he's been having incredible games, and I'm really happy with him because I never rated him at all, and he looks like a complete different player. I'm going to be honest, I hate Xhaka, but I think he's been doing much, much better as well. He still has a moment of madness in him, which he needs to cut out of his game, but he's been playing incredibly, and that all has to do with Mikel Arteta recognizing that Kolasinac or whoever plays left wing back, aka Saka, can't do both as competently. So he's put Xhaka at the left back position and let the left winger do kind of what they want in the attacking sense. For me, like James and Ryan have both said, 1-0 is not enough. We know that we need more than one goal. I'm hoping we start off strong, score a goal in the first 10-15 minutes, and then once the second, I think is but never easy with Arsenal. And then second just let the gas off and just completely get killed. So yeah, I'm hoping for a win. I'm excited, to be honest. I'm much more excited than when it was Freddie or Emery, just because Arteta has given to at least enjoy watching games. At least we're competitive, a bit more competitive.
I think again, even though he was a number 2, and like we've mentioned before, working under Pep, he's learnt that mentality of accepting nothing but the best from his players. Because of how he's from his first press conference onwards, he's always, this is my expectations. These are the levels we should be at. This is where I'm going to drag them if it kills me. Is that sort of attitude? And again, you could see similarities of where if you watch the Amazon, the documentary they did on Amazon, certain mannerisms he's picked up from Pep over the last few years that he's cherry picked and obviously passing now on to the Arsenal players. But it's again, as I've said before, a couple of weeks ago, we've got to remember Arteta played in an era when he was at Everton and Rangers respectively, where Arsenal were what we are as a scene of Liverpool, Man City. We were a dominant force in England and in Europe. So he's witnessed that, and he's even said after leaving, obviously from joining Arsenal then to leaving Arsenal as an outsider, he's witnessed the standards and everything that was good about Arsenal at the time has disappeared and vaporised. He wants to bring that back. And it's again he's doing little things as well on match days, be it home or away, where it's coming over to the fans and applauding the fans and thanking the fans for coming out and sitting there and making sure all the players, not just a handful, all the players do not go down that tunnel until they've gone over and applauded the fans. And again, at home, he comes to the centre circle, hugs all the players, and again, you don't go off this pitch until you applaud every single fan for coming out today, no matter what the result is.
If I may, I had two questions actually. Well, the first one is more of a statement. I think definitely Martinelli needs to start against Chelsea. I mean, this kid is a superstar, man. Oh man, we got really lucky. For 6 million, this kid is gonna be the next Neymar in my eyes. I think he can do everything. He can play left wing, attacking mid, striker, right wing, score with his head, score with his left, right. I mean, he's the full package. But a question I wanted to ask you guys, specifically James, would you start Ceballos and remove Ozil against Chelsea? That's my question.
Yes, I would. I would. I wondered where Danny Ceballos. Yeah, I would. Do you know what? I wondered where Danny Ceballos was yesterday because I thought his little bit of trickery could have helped us. And you got to think. You got to feel about what he thinks. You know, he's on loan from Real Madrid. He came to play, and he's not playing as often as what I would like him to, or we would like him to. And he, my first game this season was at home to Standard Liège, where he scored. And the passion involved. I mean, it was just a tap-in against a very poor Standard Liège side, but it was his first goal for Arsenal, and it meant the world to him. And you know, he's on the books of the biggest club in the world, and also Real Madrid. They are. I think if he continues not to play, I think they are also going to question the purpose of the loan because they have loaned him out to get games under his belt and improve. Hopefully, with Arsenal. Yeah. And they're going to question that. And I think you make a great point there, and that's something I would definitely entertain. As you know, guys, I'm an hour ahead here, so it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you both. Enjoy the game on Tuesday, and I'll leave you all with my prediction of 1-1.
1-1. As you said, the draw specialist in drawing.
Yeah, but I mean, we've got to start turning them into wins because if my prediction is correct. If my prediction is correct, you know, it's then that will be six wins, 12 draws, and 6 losses. A very strange season, a very topsy-turvy season, but a season that still has a bit of a way to go. So let's fingers crossed that we can look at silverware with the FA Cup and the Europa League.
Definitely, and I've said again just before we go.
I'll catch up with you both again soon, and listeners too. Take care. All the best.
See you soon.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Basically, when Arteta came in, asked, in my own opinion, it would be bittersweet if he was to come into the mess or what he's come into and win either the Europa League or the FA Cup. That would be a massive FU to the media because literally the secret the club has got when we were approaching him and then appointed him is unbelievable. Oh, he's got no experience. He's got no experience. 6 months in, you've won a cup. Stick that where the sun don't shine. And again, and then doing that, players then buy into what he's trying to do even more because then, we'll be performing at this percentage. If we did at 100%, imagine what we can do. And then again, to buy into it, and player-wise, players coming in will then buy into it as well because the players that are currently here will then tell them what he's trying to do, this, that, and the other, and things will click. But the crux of it would be the board have to, and I mean have to, in this transfer window and in the summer, back Arteta, get behind him, identify the right players, recruitment. For the love of God, get the recruitment right for once. We've got enough attackers now. No more attackers, please. Get us defenders and a centre midfielder. It doesn't have to be these extravagant names abroad. We've got Decore, Ndidi for midfielders. Lewis Dunk, for example, at Brighton, Premier League proven, that can do a job. That are a fast improvement to what we've got. I mean, just before we close up, what have you got to add?
Yeah, Ron, I think for me, 2-1. Martinelli with the first goal and Lacazette with the winner at the death. At least that's what my heart is telling me. But yeah, no, I'm just hoping for a good performance, really. That's it. I mean, we've seen improvements. I just want to continuously see this level. Now that we've upped our level, let's keep it this way and just keep increasing our levels as much as possible. And in regards to recruitment, you're totally right. I feel the same way. Lewis Dunk, Ndidi, These are all players that I'd love to see at Arsenal. And I used to be one of those fans that I used to always want brand new, sparkly signings. But I realized we need a balance. It's not all about players. We need players that have physical attributes that you see championship teams having, and teams that are fighting for relegation usually have. That's what we need at Arsenal for me. And I think you're right. This January, we have to buy someone. Like we absolutely have to. I think people are kind of misled saying, "Oh, we spent a lot in the summer." We really spend that much. Our net was like £20 million. That's nothing for Arsenal, man. And then this year was the first year that we actually made a loss, and that's just like the fruits that are coming out of the bad recruitment over the last more than 5 years, over the last 10 years. Yes, Guendouzi, yes, Martinelli, here and there we get a few gems, but we never get to keep them. And we never have more than 2 world-class players, like true world-class players in our starting 11. And that's the problem with Arsenal. Always have one star player and then have a bunch of average or inconsistent players in starting 11. And that's where we are right now, in a mess.
Part of the reason we're in this mess for losses and everything like that, financial-wise, is because Ivan Gazidis has to take a big chunk of this.
Yeah.
We could have had N'Golo Kante. He wanted to come to us. Out of all the clubs that were interested, he chose us as his first choice. For 5 mil less, we could have had him instead of Xhaka, and we chose Xhaka. Well, no, Ivan chose Xhaka based on stats DNA, and the same.
No. Actually, Ryan, we didn't want to pay. We didn't want to pay his fees, his agent fees. Actually, that's different. With Kante, we didn't want to pay his agent fees. We were being cheap as usual. So his agent was like, "F that! Like, why would we sell to Arsenal when Chelsea are going to pay the agent fees?" I mean, he's obviously going to push Chelsea. And we saw, by the way, this summer was the first time that we paid agent fees for Pepe, and that's why we got him. Really. So this has been a shift.
And again, that's down to Ivan Gazidis, because Ivan Gazidis and the old regime refused to deal with certain agents, this, that, and the other. Since they've gone, Rowe now Vinay have got promoted to what their roles are now, and then Edu's been brought in. They've said we're more than, because of obviously he's been at Barcelona, he's worked with them before. I will work with you. Mendes, for example, of part of the Pepe deal, he's willing to work with them. It just can't be a flash in the pan and one-off thing. It's got to be consistent now until we're back where we need to be, which is first off, do what Liverpool did, rebuild, get back into the Champions League spots. And from that, you then take another year where you again get yourself back in the Champions League and to a semi-final of a cup or a final of a cup and win a cup, and then you start competing for the title for the following year. We've got to do it baby steps. The fans cannot expect us to go, we're back in the Champions League now we want the title. It doesn't work like that.
You see, Ryan, I think we've been so patient over the years, right? It hurts. It hurts to say this. It's the truth. We've been just so patient that now, we've just lost patience. We just want to win. We just want to be back at the top. And, as fans, we have no control. We can't do anything, right? I mean, we don't sign players. We're not coaching. We're not there. So we don't have any input. So it's hard as a fan sometimes to be patient.
Yeah, it is hard. But just in terms of, we've got a new head coach now. We have to
for sure.
See what the board does. As long as the board back him, then we'll hopefully see the fruits of that. If they don't back him, then they've got to divert their attention from the head coach to the board and the owners, because then you've got to ask questions. And hang on, why aren't you backing? You're giving us this spout that you want to be back in the Champions League and getting us competing at European trophies and Premier League titles, but you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, basically. That's what we've got to. If that happens, that's what we've got to divert it to, not just keep going at the same thing, because it was just a couple of years ago, it was just turn into bloody a Tottenham, so to speak, and just constantly every couple of years, new manager, and just going back and back and back. Whereas we need to take it out on the owner now. If he doesn't back Arteta now, as in the next, say, especially in the summer, questions got to be asked, because then everything Josh said was a lie, and then we've got to do what we can to get them out then, because that's the case, and whilst they're here, we'll keep on going backwards.
I don't know how you feel, Ryan, but I was gonna say, one more collapse, whatever it is, right? Whether it's Josh Kroenke, whatever it is, just one more thing for I think Arsenal fans are gonna like flip, and this time when it flips, it's gonna be bad. And I just had that feeling, and I just hope we don't reach there. But what do you think about Dangote buying Arsenal? I mean, he's a Nigerian. I've been saying this for a long time. I really want him to buy Arsenal. He's an Arsenal fan. He's a billionaire, Africa's richest man. I think he's the perfect guy.
I prefer him over Stan.
Yeah.
Because he's been saying it for so long now.
Yeah, not true.
It's
But you do have to realize he has like a lot of projects all over Africa, right? And different like in minerals and in metals and in different industries. So he said he just wants to wait to finish all those projects, which were like 10-year projects, and then he's gonna buy Arsenal. So I'm gonna write him a letter telling him, please buy Arsenal.
Can you make it a few months quicker, please? The club's dying.
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, even if he offers half his fortune, do you think Stan's gonna take it? I mean, he's worth $8 billion. He doesn't really need the money.
Well, I think if it gets to a point where the fans, the atmosphere between the fans and the board and himself, like the Kroenke business, the franchise or what they are, if it gets to a point where it's so toxic, I think his son might actually finally persuade, because he was almost. Apparently, rumors were he almost persuaded his dad to sell up to Uzman a few years back, after he fell out of the Champions League. But his dad dug his heels in. I think if he got beyond repair, like it looked like Gillette and Hicks at Liverpool a few years ago. If it was a similar situation like that, then I think that he might well sell.
Okay.
Because he's full, as we all know, when it comes to Stan, his full concentration is over in the States at the LA Rams. That's his fault. That's his baby. That's what he concentrates on.
If he was a smart businessman, you know how much money is in the Premier League. That's the thing I don't understand, right? Like you spend like 100 million and you get like 300 back. Any smart person would do that.
But like, I can't remember. It was in the States that said Stan Kroenke isn't a businessman. He's a fraud. This, that, and the other. This was a couple of years ago. And
it was actually the manager from WWE, Vince McMahon. I saw that video. I loved it. It was so funny.
And that got me concerned back then, and I've now seen it now. And what really put fear into me is how when Usmanov sold his shares to Stan, he then forced what when his shares were held with the fans. He basically took it off them without even asking, without even permission. Basically, like I'm the majority shareholder. Boom. And he's made things private. He turned us into a private business now. So we don't know how much he's taken out. Whereas when he was just a majority shareholder with like 70-60% of the shares, it was leaking out that he was nicking 300 odd mil, but then not explaining it, why he's taking it, not putting it back in that sense. And it's just, and then it come to bloody Q&As for the Arsenal fans, and he just sits there and doesn't answer questions. It's all pre-rehearsed. It's like, no, the last ever one they did, before he got obviously majority share, it was, I've done it. Chips Casual basically stood up and said he's done an interview for a thing which you've got to go out, or not go out, but go online, download, pay for it just to read what he's got to say. I'm like, no, he's for real.
Yeah.
What was the point of him travelling all the way from wherever he lives in the States to London just to sit in his backside in silence in a room full of Arsenal fans, which is very brave, by the way, considering.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I held up hope with Josh just because everything that his dad passed on to him and the other sport franchises, that he's passed on to Josh, they've gone from absolute crap basically to turning the corner. They're actually starting to perform a lot better than what they were. It's been run more like a sports club should be.
Yeah.
And that was my hope with Josh, but it just seems like again he's not interested because we're not in the States. But this is what I've said for years as well about the Kroenkes as well, and just in general. in terms of the investment, in sense of you want to sell someone on, the more successful you are as a club, i.e., competing, winning trophies, the more value goes up on the particular players. But this is again, we're not businessmen. He's meant to be a businessman, and he's not doing. He's not
A
recognised.
successful one, a billionaire.
Yeah. He's fucking taking out bloody loans left, right, and centre to fund a bloody stadium build over in LA. Probably using our money in the process, using us as collateral.
100% he is. 100% he
Because
is.
at the end of the day, that's us. What was it? The season we fell out of the Champions League spot, we finished by a point behind Liverpool. I was saying that fans outside the Emirates and it was just basically saying he won't sell us because this is when Usman was trying to buy his shares. He won't sell because we're a Premier League club in London. We're a payback for him. But
True.
yeah. But hopefully that would change. As I said, if the fan base gets too toxic for him, I think Josh might actually twist his arm this time. Otherwise, the only other way I could see the Cronkies in general selling up is if Stan was to pass on, and then obviously Josh inherits it and then gets bored and goes, someone else can have it. That's the only way I can see things.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, what's up now? What time is it over in where you are?
I'm currently in South Africa. It's about to be 10 p.m.
Well, best on after and get some rest. I'll be back on Tuesday doing a watch along for the game, and then on Wednesday we're back doing the review with Claude and a few other guys. Are you available on Wednesday?
Yeah, definitely. I should look at my calendar and I'll put it in there. So I'm sure I'll be.
Yeah, we're chatting Twitter and all that. So where can people find you before we sign off? Where can people find you anyway?
Yeah, so actually, I just created a Twitter about a few months ago. New to football Twitter. It's actually been crazy. I love the amount of information you can get about Arsenal. So I post a lot of things about Arsenal. If you want to come follow me there, it's at Le African Gooner. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel as well, which I've been taking a little bit of break from because, as I mentioned to you, Ryan, South Africa's having a lot of electricity issues and internet issues, so it's not been very reliable. But if you want to go subscribe, it's Le African Gooner as well.
Okay, cool. Yep. And then also anyone else comes across this later, as I always say, if you like what you see and and you want to see more, do subscribe, like, and share. Hit the notification bell as well, so you don't miss a second of what we've got coming as well on both our channels. And until Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy tomorrow.
Cheers, Ryan. Cheers, Ryan.
And until next time, as always, up the Arsenal.